So I think through school ages, I just tried to find a way around things. And I can remember if I wanted to play football at lunchtime with my friends, they put me in goal, because although I couldn't run, if I fell one way with my CP, I got a chance of stopping the ball. So that was the kind of attitude I had growing up. It was just kind of, I'd find a way around it. And then when I went to high school, obviously you start to notice that you're a little bit different to your peers, a bit more than you would do in primary school. So that's when I started to notice that I was maybe struggling a wee bit in terms of PE and kind of involvement in sport. And I had a really good PE teacher who decided to bring in some basketball chairs into a PE lesson. So instead of being at the back of a class, I'd suddenly shot to the front, and it was all my friends and peers that were struggling to get to grips with the chair. And because it's something that I've always been kind of used to, I kind of thrived in that, and that was kind of my first step into para sport. And from there, he signposted me to a swimming group, and I swam for 3 or 4 years competitively and got to national standards with that. But it was kind of just on the cusp of 2012 building up, so I was kind of catching that wave and kind of got to experience what para sport is within the mainstream. So I got invited to a talent identification day, or a come and try day at British Athletics, originally for seated throws because I was a little bit bigger then than I am now. And then it was at Loughborough, so I looked down onto the track and I saw all these racing wheelchairs, and I'd never seen anything like it before. And they were just really cool, and they kind of drew me in. And then I saw people training them, and they were going around the track way quicker than I'd seen anyone run at home. And I was just like, sod throwing, I want to give racing a go. And I was rubbish for probably about 3 or 4 years. But just kind of kept plugging away with a coach and kind of finding my technique and finding my rhythm. And then made my international debut in 2014 at the European Championships at the age of 18. I won a bronze medal in the 800 metres, which was a complete kind of bolt from the blue. I didn't expect it. It was kind of one of those events you just go to and try and get a bit of experience. And then from there, I've pretty much done every major championship since. So I think we're coming up to, this year will be my 4th World Championships if I get selected, 2 Paralympic Games, 4 European Championships, and there's been some medals and records along the way. So the journey kind of started by trying to play football and working out I wasn't very good at it, and then kind of stumbling into para sport thanks to a really good PE teacher.
So when I started my career in strength and conditioning, I was working at a variety of universities, and often some of the scholarship athletes were para athletes. I began working alongside more experienced coaches and learning from them and assisting in sessions, and then as I progressed in my career, starting to lead. A lot of that involved working with national governing bodies or Scottish governing bodies to leverage the expertise of places like the Institute of Sport. And then when I moved to Scotland and got a job with the SIS, I started working with Ben in August 19. We had a handover period of about 3 months from the previous coach, where we went through all of his different programming, what Ben can do, what he likes to do, and how that program is adapted for his disability. And then I took on the programming from there.
I think cerebral palsy and the nature of that disability is very individualistic, because everyone's case and everyone's kind of form of CP is going to be slightly different because the way they acquired it can be different. I've got cerebral palsy, and the specific type of cerebral palsy is what's called spastic diplegia. And it basically means that the way my brain sends signals down to my arms and legs is a bit jumbled up, and the way my muscles and things process it. So if you're able-bodied, your brain will send your signals down in a nice even order of 1, 2, 3, 4, let's say. Whereas with my CP, it'll send it down all a bit jumbled up, so it'll be like 3, 4, 2, 1. And the way my muscles process those signals are a little bit different. So I'm able to walk very short distances, but I'm very kind of up on my tiptoes, and my muscle tone's quite high. So the way I try and explain it to people is, say when you get cramp, or an able-bodied person gets cramp in a calf or a hamstring, that's kind of where my legs are at normally in terms of muscle tone, pain levels and things like that. So in terms of day-to-day activities, getting in a wheelchair is a lot easier to kind of get around a lot more pain-free. And then there's little aspects to my CP that necessarily go kind of unmissed because you wouldn't kind of notice them from day to day, but it's things like holding a pen and the dexterity in my hands and my fingers is affected with my CP as well, because there's a slight, what's called an overflow into my upper body. So it mainly affects my legs, but there's a slight impairment into my hands and the kind of coordination side of that as well. An area that's really worked well for me within the institute has to be my S&C. It's been the most consistent side of my Scottish Institute experience. It's the one that I use most regularly. I'm here with Tom 2-3 days a week. It's an area that we've been able to really kind of work on and kind of get that rapport day in, day out, being able to go through really hard training blocks. I know that I've got someone who's got my best interests at heart, and that I know that if I'm having a bad day, I can talk to about it, and then I know if I need a kick up the backside, he'll give me a kick up the backside. It's kind of the best of both worlds. But being able to have that regular contact has been a real strength of being able to come through the Institute.
When it comes to adapting my practice working with para-athletes, I think there's two different strands. One of them would be the exercises themselves, focus on what the athlete can do, and we go back to the principles of what adaptation we're trying to sort of instill, and then work from the principles down towards exercise selection that is appropriate for the athlete, whether that involves creating pieces of equipment or modifying different exercises to ensure that they're safe and then appropriate for what we're trying to achieve. That will be one strand. And then secondly, in terms of my coaching style, it's remembering that yes, they are a para-athlete, but they're also an elite athlete, and they have the same mindset as able-bodied athletes, so want to be pushed, want to be challenged. And I think my coaching style, particularly with Ben, who's a more experienced athlete, is quite reflective of experienced able-bodied athletes, giving him a little bit of autonomy and a little bit of decision-making within his programme, and working together to work towards those high-performance goals.
So for me and Ben, as an elite athlete, I think I've grown up in able-bodied mainstream schools. I've grown up not knowing that I've had a disability, not kind of acknowledging that as kind of a key aspect of me. So I've always been, I'm an elite athlete. I train as hard as the able-bodied elite athletes. Whether you've got a disability or not, you're in this elite sport setup. You are an elite athlete. It's not an elite athlete with a disability. Everyone's kind of on the same level.
So if there's an element of Ben's disability that I don't fully understand, or we're working towards a goal where his disability may have an impact, I would leverage the multidisciplinary team around me. So I would consult with the medical practitioner that Ben works with at the Institute, and then I'd also do my own research into the literature to find out specifically how cerebral palsy will affect different elements of morphology, neurology, etc. And then work with Ben to find solutions to try and work best towards the goal. And that may involve adapting the programme and using a slightly different set of exercises to achieve the particular goal that we're going for.
So I think a really recent example of where we've had to be adaptable and a bit creative with practitioners has been when I've injured my shoulder in April. So like I said earlier on, I can walk short distances, but it's very much kind of up on my tiptoes, my feet turn in, which is a bit of a trip hazard. So unfortunately I tripped over my own feet. I fell earlier in the year and I damaged my shoulder. Kind of set the whole program back 6 months. So we've had to be a bit creative in terms of rehabbing, exercise that we can do, and the kind of time that we can spend in the gym and in the chair, because you're always using the shoulder as a wheelchair user. You're not giving it a break to recover. So it means that we've had to be flexible and be adaptive with everything else that goes around it. That's where I think that relationship between my S&C coach, my physio and my athletics coach has been really positive, because they've been able to communicate with each other and give each other the knowledge and the understanding that they've all got to go out, what's the best situation for Ben moving forward. And that's one of the benefits of having such a close network as part of the Institute, is it takes the pressure off as an athlete. So we've had to be adaptable, but at the same time, it's built off of those foundations that we've had for the last 4 years of me being at the Institute.
Yes, I think being creative in your practice is really important. Sometimes you've just got to try things, and that might mean modifying equipment, or it might mean modifying the way we do an exercise. I think being safe is important, but also being willing to try things is important, and working in tandem with the athlete. With Ben's event, he was targeting 100, so we wanted to increase the amount of speed training and high velocity training he was doing. That requires us to think a little bit more about the contract-relax mechanism, which with CP can be inhibited by the condition. So in order to work towards improving his speed on track, I went away and did some research about cerebral palsy, and then applied that to the different methods for speed training that we would normally use in the gym, and then adapted our practice to try and increase his ability to contract, relax, and work around that inhibition that he's potentially got, so that when he gets on the track, he's able to access all of the strength that he has and put that down with more rate of force production and more power, so he can get off the block quicker.
Yeah, so for me, I've still not won a World Championships medal. I've still not won a medal at a Paralympic Games. So that's my aspiration. I really want to kind of push on to Paris in 2024, LA in 2028, and probably try and get to Queensland in 2032 would be my kind of long-term plan. I want to win a Paralympic medal, and I think without the Institute support, that'd be very difficult, because it means you're having to go and manage all the other aspects that the Institute take care of currently on your own. And without that support and without that familiarity that you've had for the last kind of 4 or 5 years. So I think achieving those goals of winning a Paralympic medal are extremely difficult without institutional support. It's not impossible, but it makes everything 10 times harder than what it would be with that institute support.
So as a multidisciplinary team, we have communication throughout the year, and that ties into Ben's annual plan. So a national governing body such as Scottish Athletics or British Athletics will set up regular touch points to track Ben's progress, and then that will inform his periodisation for what he's doing for the block. And then myself as a strength and conditioning coach will work quite closely with the physiotherapist and with the track coach to ensure that all different elements of his training are trending towards the goal for that period. So if a practitioner is working with a new para-athlete, some advice I would give them would be, don't be embarrassed to ask the questions. It's much better to be upfront about it and ask the athlete what they feel comfortable with and what they can do, and a lot of focus on what you want to do instead of focusing on what they are maybe limited by doing or maybe what they can't do, and just doing that in a safe and appropriate setting. So that might be a 5-minute conversation after a session. Or how did you feel that went? Are you comfortable with that exercise? Or it might be just during the session, if the athlete feels up for it. Are you willing to try this? Do you want to have a bit of a pop at that?
So I think from my experience, all the Institute staff have always treated me on a level with all the able-bodied athletes, which isn't necessarily the experience I've had with other elite sport setups. I've been quite surprised and quite pleased at the level of parity between able-bodied and para-athletes within the Scottish Institute of Sport. They treat me as if I was an able-bodied elite athlete, and they just treat all elite athletes as the same, because in essence it is, whether it's para-sport or whether it's able-bodied sport, you're still an elite athlete, you're still putting in the hours of training, you're still pushing yourself as hard as you can. The movements and the kind of methodology behind it might have to be tweaked a little bit, but at the core we're all elite athletes, and that's something that kind of runs through the heart of the Institute as a whole.